We're back. This is segment 5 of the third class of setting limits and building cooperation. And this segment is about emotional projects. Emotional project is the name we have for what your child is probably doing by now, which is when you bring a limit, they sort of signal for a limit in the same way over and over and over again. You know, they don't want to go to sleep, or they're aggressive towards another sibling, or they can't stand to sit at the table for more than 2 minutes before they're up and gone, and you're saying, no, you need to sit here. And somehow you're bringing the limit, and it's the same kind of situation over and over, and they're having a big fat cry or a big fat tantrum or lots and lots of laughter followed by a big fat cry or a big fat tantrum. And what's happening is that you're going, I thought this was supposed to get better, but we're having these cries every single day, same time, same station, or every single incident that is like this, it's coming up this way, and he's crying again, he's writhing and struggling again. Why isn't it getting better? What's happening here is that when your child cries or has a certain kind of cry and a certain kind of emotional expression, writhing or struggling or sweating or crying or being beside themselves in a particular way with a particular tone, and sort of the same kind of look on their face and feel about their body again and again and again, that's the sign that your child is working through an emotional project. There's some little thing that triggers a big hurt under the surface. It might be something from before birth. It could be a hurt that occurred at birth. It could be something that happened when they were 3 months old. It could be the accident that they had when they were 2.5. It could be that, the tension in your family for 6 months while daddy didn't have a job, something they internalized, and it sits there and it's driving them off track often. And now that you're bringing a limit, they can reach in and dig for it, and they feel better every time they work on it. So they're digging for it every day. They're bringing it up every day. They're signaling every day. You're bringing the limit, and either stay listening or handling it playfully. They feel well supported, and they want to work on this until it's all gone. But it's bigger than a breadbasket. It's a fairly large hurt. So what's happening is that they are working on it very, very well, and you're feeling dissatisfied because it should be over already. And actually, hurts that are large, hurts that really occupy a lot of real estate in a child's emotional mind, take a while to undo. For instance, I told you about my son's accident when he was 1, the slice in his hand that went very, very deep and just shocked him. And then there was a shocked face and a worried face, and all that he saw from me during the whole, crazy drive to the emergency room, and then the pain and the being tied down. It's like it was a long 4 hours of trauma there. And it took him about 3 years, I think, to work all of that through. Once he started working on it with these big cries every time he would get bumped just a little, that would last maybe a half an hour with lots of thrashing and sweating and trembling. And then it went into night terrors, so that he'd wake up at about 10:30 every night and have lots of screaming and crying and sweating again. And we would hold him and say, David, you're fine. We're right here. We're right here. You're safe. And he would just be way deep in working on fear over and over and over again. So he went through a period of maybe 6 months doing that before he could sleep through the night without it. And then there were more occasional cries. So you don't look for progress in how many cries your child is having. You don't look for progress in how long those cries are. And in particular, you don't look for progress in a child becoming more reasonable while they are crying. When we are crying, when we're offloading hurt, grief or fear, we are not reasonable. We are not seeing the world accurately at all, and that's okay. In order to offload a feeling, you have to bring the feeling up full. You have to be right in the middle of it. with part of your mind. And the other part of your mind has to have their eye on the fact that someone is listening. Someone is right there, someone is protecting us, someone is present for us, and keeping it safe enough to go on having the full experience of that feeling. That's the healing process. Safety over here, feeling over here. And we sink a lot of our attention into the feeling. We believe it, we feel that it's true. It encompasses our whole reality. But in actuality, our mind is going, yeah, and your mommy is right here. Your daddy is talking to you. Your daddy's holding you, he's strong, and you are not in danger. And so you've got half of a mind on the feeling, half of a mind on the safety. And but you don't tell your parent, thank you so much for telling me all those things. You know, I feel really good when you tell me that I'm safe and that no one's going to hurt me. When my parent says this, I'm going to cry harder about how scared I was that someone was going to hurt me, or how it felt when someone did hurt me in order to help me in that emergency room. So children won't give you feedback while they're crying that this is good what you're doing. But I've had children screaming bloody murder, working on an old hurt. And when I have to turn away to talk to somebody, I tell them, sweetie, I'm sorry, I need to talk to this person over here. They have an urgent question. I'll be right back. And I turn my head, and the child will stop screaming, look around, kind of see who's where. I'm talking over here. And then I turn back and I go, I'm back. And they look at me and their eyes fly open with fear and they start screaming again. Because their mind has that division. It's like, I'm safe, and boy, do I feel bad. So you don't look for progress in how your child looks while they're crying, how often they cry, how long they cry, or how many weeks it's been since they've been having all of these cries. None of those indicate progress. What indicates progress is how they are when they're not out of their minds with feeling, when they're not 100% invested in the healing process. That's when you see progress. So after a big cry, you want to look to see, can your child make better eye contact with you? Is their body more relaxed? Are they sleeping better? Are they cooperating? Are they merry? Are they lighthearted afterwards? Are they more generous? Are they listening to you better? Are they taking initiative to be an important part of the household, say to clean something up or to help you with something? Or are they showing that they can tell how you are? Are they more courageous? Are they doing things they were afraid to do before? Is their attention span longer? Are they making a developmental leap? Have they gone from not being able to participate in gymnastics at all to being able to go in and have a great time at gymnastics, while still having huge cries every time you take them before they can get in the door? If they're having these big cries, and these big cries are sweaty and awful and excruciating for you, but at the end they're able to get in the door for gymnastics, then you've made a lot of progress. And they're not finished with their emotional project. They want to go in and clean out one more scoop the next time they hit gymnastics. So what we've seen, in particular, it's really fun to watch the developmental changes that happen, the realizations that happen. I know one child who cried for, I think, 3 weeks over not wanting to memorize the capitals of 50 states, in 5th grade, and feeling she was too stupid to memorize them, and her mind couldn't do it, and why did she have to do it anyway, and how much she hated school. It's like there were a lot of issues in that little basket there. But by the time she'd memorized the capitals and had 4 or 5 huge cries about, how her mother shouldn't be trying to drive this project, and how her mother was telling her to do it this way and that was the wrong way to do it, and how bad her mother was at helping her, and how, just all of her doubts about herself and anger at her mom. By the time she aced the test on the states and their capitals, she was going, I wish I could have the test tomorrow. I've never liked tests in my life. I've always hated tests, but now I just want to do it again. It was so easy. And she actually had this huge realization about how powerful her mind was. And it took 4 big cries, before she could grab onto this project and really feel like her memory was good enough to do it. But once she did it, the world changed for her. She liked learning a heck of a lot better than she liked it before. So it's not that your child will stop working on the project, it's that you'll see them functioning better and better and better between cries. Every time a child goes back and works on a big hurt, an old hurt, it shaves down the amount of work they still have to do, but it doesn't change how that hurt feels to them while they're working on it. It's like that hurt has a flavor, it has a tone, it has a sense, it has a certain kind of desperation or a certain kind of giving up or a certain kind of terrible helplessness. It's got qualities that come from what happened and who it happened to and how your child internalized it. And even if it's the last half hour of crying before that hurt has evaporated entirely, it's still going to be as dire and as momentous and as all-encompassing and as attention-grabbing, and it's still going to rise as big and as convincing as it did the very first time your child went in and had a big cry or a big struggle about it. It's like that's the nature of the hurt that drives how your child is while they cry. The nature of the release and the advantage the release is giving them, you will see between cries. And you'll see a child cry often at first because all of a sudden it's like, wow, Mom and Dad know what to do. And then cry less and less frequently and have better and better functioning between each cry. So the progress you see is between cries when the mind is working well. Every time the mind isn't working well and the feeling gets restimulated and they go in to work on it again, you're going to see the same old, same old. And you need to pour in reassurance, pour in your attention, allow the process to happen, and slowly but surely children work their way all the way out of even big hurts, big traumas that they've experienced in their lives. This is such a hopeful process. So have patience and watch for what happens between cries. And anchor what happens during a cry. That's your job. Just anchor what happens there. Your child is in charge of that part. You'll see good progress in between.